Hello, everyone. Hope you're well and safe and having a great Christmas break with your loved one. Once again, welcome to Let's Talk More with Romail Gulzar. Today, my guest is broadcaster, journalist, blogger, and event planner. Stay tuned. Let's talk more. Meera, welcome to Let's Talk More, and good to see you after so many months.
Yeah, it's been a while. Thank you so much for having me.
Great, it's a pleasure. Just before we going into your business journey and your broadcast journey and your journalism journey, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yeah, so born and brought up in Leicester. I've pretty much lived here all my life. I went to university here. I think I've lived away from Leicester for about 6 months. So it's a place I call home. But luckily through work, I get to travel a lot, meet people from all over the place. I have a huge family and just, very involved in terms of the community and culture here. So yeah, loving life, living the dream life, I guess, with the work that I do and just have lots of love and positivity.
Mira, since I know you, always on your face a very smile, and you always turn all the time very, very positive. Where these vibes come from?
I don't know. Maybe it's because I don't spend so much time working in the, I guess, media side of things, the serious media side of things. I kind of just stay in my own little bubble. So, whatever makes you feel good, whether that's, reading positive, uplifting self-help books or watching fun, kind of upbeat shows. I tend to not like fill the mind with a lot of like negative stuff. So I think that probably helps.
You graduate in Leicester in the Montfort University.
Yes.
I'm right.
Yeah.
So why you choose in the home city to be study here?
It's an awful story because it's going to make me sound like a complete snob. But I actually, when I was looking for universities, I went and did like a various kind of site visit, I guess, and we were looking at all these like dorms and rooms and things, and I'd see this tiny little room and you're having to share with a lot of people, and I think I was just spoiled growing up. So that experience wasn't something that I really wanted to live, and I felt like you could be social wherever you are. I didn't have to move away from home to do that. My parents are very kind of open-minded, flexible, so I just felt like I'd be able to have the best of both worlds if I stayed at home. Like I said, so many family members, friends here, and I just didn't feel like I needed to leave. So my initial degree was actually from the University of Leicester, where I did a BA in management. And then from there on in, I moved over to De Montfort to do my MA in journalism. So that experience at De Montfort was very different to the experience of doing the 3 years at Leicester, just because the courses were completely different. So at De Montfort, it was very much like a classroom environment. There were like 12 people, 12 to 15 on the course. It was like being back at school because you had this one group of people that you were with all day long, 5 days a week. And with it being journalism, it was just so much fun because you're constantly either on the field or learning things. I enjoyed that experience a whole lot more just because I think it was something that I was more passionate about from an academic point of view.
Your former colleague as well used to be work with, and I believe you're the second editor for the Pucar magazine. If you recall yourself, just share a bit that journey when you was editor at Pucar.
Yeah, so I remember the first time I think I met Romail, and it was at an event. So, we weren't working at Pucar at the time. You were obviously, but we just met, and then you invited me down, and then I started doing a bit of freelance work here and there. And I think maybe, we just enjoyed working together, or maybe you saw my style of work and thought I'd be a good fit for the magazine. Like you said, I think you once told me that serious journalism is perhaps not your thing. And I didn't take that as a criticism. I kind of took it on board, and I realized that I have to have like a different kind of career path. And so the magazine and features and writing those sorts of community stories just felt like a good fit. I loved being able to be a part of it from the first edition, because I do have a feature that was out in the first edition where I wasn't editing, but I just loved seeing my name in print there. And then when I got the opportunity to become the editor, I just thought it was the most incredible opportunity. And I'm really grateful to have it, because I think at that point, the fact that I was quite young, I didn't have a lot of experience, I don't think a lot of people would have taken a chance on me. And I think I really learned a lot through it. So yeah, very grateful. And it was just a fun time because I just got to meet so many different people who I was interviewing, people who I was working with, and just actually built on a lot of skills, right from not just writing, but, design. I think that I'm quite into design and, creativity. So all of that was just a lot of fun and just a big learning curve, I think, for me.
I remember that when you was editor and you in charge and take a passion and pride on it, and you're very giving hard time to designer always, because they say, oh my God, why shouldn't you do yourself?
Yeah.
But because that was not like giving hard time somebody, I believe you was really keen to have a great product. Am I right?
Yeah, it had to be the best. And I don't know if everybody does this, but I know I literally just used to sit next to the designer for days and like say, can you move this here? Can you move this there? And I think I was very annoying, which I completely take responsibility for. But I think you have to take pride in your work and you just want it to be the best. And I think the designers were very friendly and they took on board that I wanted it to be that way. So I think they were okay with it.
Finally, before going into your business journey, how you can describe Meera Majithia?
I guess somebody who's just trying to live every day as it comes, be in the present, just be happy, and try and just live in a world that's kind and compassionate.
So how come certainly that change to going journalist to broadcaster and switch to straight away to event planning?
Um, a lot of people ask me that, and honestly, I don't know. I think like with any career, you just have this natural progression or flow. Like you just have different experiences, and then they lead you on to do different things. So I started off with journalism. We say journalism, feature writing, etc. And then through that, I was doing some PR work here and there. And as you know, PR is closely linked to events. So then it kind of went into a lot of event work. And then I figured out that I just wanted to work for myself to have the flexibility to kind of live the life that I want to lead, which they preach in a lot of self-help books. But I wanted to have that flexibility to work as hard as I want to when I want to, but then also take some time out. So I realized actually having my own business would give me the opportunity to do that. And in terms of Indian weddings specifically, which I specialize in, it just felt like there was a gap in the market. We see a lot of planners come from like the South and London, like there's a big representation there, but there weren't really at the time any big planners from the Midlands, especially not from Leicester, that I could pinpoint. So I just felt like there was a gap in the market. There was an opportunity. I'm quite entrepreneurial, quite creative. So it just felt like the perfect job for me because every day is so different when you're working in events, especially weddings. So yeah, it's just a whole lot of fun.
What's your business called?
It's called Carriages, Weddings and Events.
Why is Courageous a vending an event?
Carriages, because I wanted to have a word that linked into the event industry or weddings, and carriages is something that you'll often see on the invite when it's time to leave the event. So it felt like a nice name. It was also not overly Indian without sounding awful because a lot of my clientele are not Indian as well. I do have interfaith couples, so I do specialize in Indian and interfaith weddings. And I just wanted the name and the brand to be like something that everybody could connect with rather than just an Indian or an Asian name. And that's not to say that people can't connect with an Indian or an Asian name. But I just wanted the brand itself to showcase that, you know, a typical Indian wedding can still incorporate like British elements and be very Western because that's my style. So that's why it was Carriages.
When you have a business idea, you think you need a money backup or a moral backup?
I think that both are important, but it really depends on you as an individual. So for me, I run a service-based business, so I don't need the funds up front. I'm not doing e-commerce. I'm not having lots of stock, you know, flown in from a different country. So I don't need that cash up front. I purely rely on my own skill set to run my business. So money isn't really a requirement there because it doesn't take a lot to start up a company like that. So I think that moral backing is important. I think coming from a family that has run a business, a successful business, I think they understand the difficulties of starting up a business. And I also think that they're more supportive because I know I've had friends of mine who perhaps have come from families where they haven't run businesses. They've always been in a profession. And while that is really admirable, like it's amazing, you know, the types of jobs that other people have, I think sometimes it's difficult for those families to sympathize or understand exactly what goes into running a business. And it is hard, like financially, like I wasn't making money for a long time. So, you know, it's hard. You change your habits, you change everything because all the money you do have goes into the business. And that mindset isn't always easy for people who have had like a regular income as such.
How you see, especially now we are all facing the COVID-19, what's impact, especially in your business, had?
It's been very, I would say, disastrous for the wedding industry. I don't think there's been a lot of support at all. I feel like I'm okay because even prior to COVID, my plans for my business were changing anyway. I wanted to launch the bridal membership club that I have, which is digital. I wanted to write the book. I wanted to launch podcasts. So all these things are, you know, things that I had the time and the energy to do because I didn't have weddings this year, but I've not done a single wedding this year. Even going to next year, I think it might be a couple of weddings. I still see couples postponing because they don't have that full confidence that weddings of the large scale that they want will be able to go ahead. Things are looking up with the vaccine, but we still don't know. And I have colleagues, friends rather, in the industry who have just, I mean, it's been a real struggle. So some people have had to almost shut down their businesses. Some people may be shutting down their businesses, and some people have had to let go of staff. So it has been really tough generally, and more so for my couples. I think for me as a business, I could sustain any financial hit or loss because there's money still coming in. The events aren't cancelled; they're just postponed. But I think for the couples, it's their one special day. And when you suddenly find that you can't have that day, or it has to be moved to another year, or like at one point, couples didn't even know when they were going to get married. So I think that has just been really difficult because just being there, like as their support emotionally, I would say it's been tough to see them be so upset.
And you've written your first book.
Yes.
Where does this idea come from, and why you thought there is a gap?
So, I mean, the book is just, it's been on my bucket list since I was a child. I've always wanted to write a book. I just didn't know what that book would be about. And then I was having a chat with, various people from within my industry or even outside the industry. And they just told me that they felt like there was a gap in the market. I've always wanted to write a book because you can't, as a planner, connect with lots of brides because there's only a minimum number of events that I can take on board a year. But I just know that there are so many people out there who could just benefit from some sort of positivity just to say, look, calm down. Wedding planning isn't so scary. It doesn't have to be stressful. You don't have to spend like hundreds of thousands of pounds. So that was the point of the book, to just basically bring that message and give it out and send it out to all these brides who constantly, are feeling very stressed or overwhelmed because of all the images and the things that they're hearing in the media. And there's lots of competition with weddings, oh, my friend had this or my cousin had this. And I just want people to relax and understand that it should be just such a fun experience. And that's the idea of the book. And that's why it came out. And it's been a whirlwind because I started writing it in March. I finished writing it in July. And it's officially releasing on the 11th of December.
What's it called?
It's called Plan to Perfection.
Why is Plan?
Because ultimately everybody wants their wedding day to be perfect. So if you read the book, then you'll be able to plan it perfectly.
Meera, broadcaster, DJ, wedding, no author. What else we can expecting next year from Meera Majithia?
I think my hands are pretty full for the time being. But like I said, the idea is actually to move the whole idea of wedding planning into a digital space, just so it's more accessible and affordable to as many brides as possible. So I think that is really my goal moving forward. And just to make sure that there's a lot of content about weddings available for people to read. Because I think pushing out the messages that I want to give out, the best way to do that is through content, whether that be like online through blogs or whether that be through like, Facebook groups or videos, etc. But just making sure that people feel as calm as possible when they're planning and understand that it should be like a fun experience. I want people to feel that vibe when they're planning. So it's not just about the end goal. I always believe with anything, it's about the journey as well. So you've got to make sure that that whole journey of planning is just as fun as the wedding day itself. And hopefully that will then lead to, an amazing journey in terms of your married life.
Out there, people are watching this and they're planning to get married.
Mm-hmm.
And what's your final message to them, and what's the tip?
My biggest tip is, first of all, just understand like why you're getting married. Like, what's the most important thing? I think so many people start fantasizing about, their venue or the food and all those other beautiful visual elements. But actually, deep down, I think it's always important to remember why you're getting married. And usually it's so that you can start this amazing journey with the love of your life. And I think if that is the core of why that marriage is happening and that wedding is happening, then I think it just helps make every other decision so much easier when you're planning. It avoids all those confrontations and, all those like dramatic emotions that come out. So I just think know your why and understand exactly what you want on a deeper level. And I think that will just make the planning process a lot more easier.
I was just reading a couple of things on your website and on the social media. You picked up early this year one award.
Yes.
Just share about that.
So it's officially not been announced at the moment, but it was just an award for the best Indian and interfaith wedding planner, and that's kind of nationally. And it's great. I mean, it's a great achievement. It's a publication that runs that particular award, and I just think it's nice to be recognised. We don't do our work for awards. Ultimately, the greatest satisfaction is just knowing that you've done a great job and people have this amazing wedding day. But I think being able to have your work recognised is nice because you know other people are noticing it too, and sometimes that is just a nice feeling, even though it is slightly vain.
Thank you, everybody, for watching Let's Talk More with Romail Gulzar. And we come back again with a new guest, new journey, new life story. Stay tuned. Let's talk more.